Hey everybody, welcome to my 2025-2026 Reading Life Reflection Workshop or Shelf Reflection. This year, we are going to be doing about a 45-minute planning session, but this can take as long as you want. You can divide the time up into multiple sessions. This is your time to spend some time reflecting on your reading life from the past year and setting yourself up to have the reading life that you want in the coming year. Now, the way today's workshop is going to be structured is that I am going to introduce each part of our workbook to you. I'm going to come right back to that. And then I'm going to play some music for about 10 minutes that you can use as quiet reflection. So let's talk first about the workbook. You'll see the cover of the workbook here on my screen. And this is actually the cover of something that's coming in January, which is my Reading Life Planner. I'll be releasing that in my community. But the workbook is just about 8 pages long, and the pages look something like this that will guide you through the different parts of this workshop today. So you can download this from my community. I will put a link in the description below so that you can access that completely free. There's no cost to this. There's also no cost to the fun extra that's going to come in January either. So you may want to be a community member so you know as soon as that is released, because my community members always get things just a little bit earlier. But we are going to spend about 10 minutes working on each section here on the video playback. But number one, I hate the music that I have to use here on YouTube for it to not cause me a copyright problem and not be allowed to play in certain places. So if you want, I have also made an amazing playlist to go along with this workshop. It's available on Spotify, also for free if you have a Spotify account. And you don't even have to have a premium account. I think it's any Spotify account will let you play this. And it's a great playlist for doing reflective work like this. So I'm going to also share that in the description below. So if you want, you can just pause the workshop after you start each section. I'll do a little intro of each section. You can let that playlist play for as long as you want. And then when you're ready to move on to the next section or next page or couple of pages in the workbook, just come back here, hit the timestamps in the description below. That'll take you straight forward to the next introduction to that section. All right, so that's all the do's and don'ts and all the hows and how nots. And with that, let's dive in and look actually at section 1 of the workbook. So in part 1, I want you to take a few minutes to look back at your reading life with 2025. And as much as it's possible for you, I want you to look back without judgment. This is not a time to say, oh, I should have read more. I should have read more high quality books. No, none of that. No shoulding on yourself, as my therapist says to me on a regular basis. There's no shoulding here. This is all about celebrating what you did and finding what you liked and didn't like, because what we always want to do is maximize more of what we like and minimize what we don't like. Doesn't mean we don't have to do it. I still have to do the reading for work that I don't want to do, but it's to try to figure out a way to make that as palatable and as enjoyable as possible. So again, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to start working. This is just on page 2 of your workbook, and I will see you back here in about 10 minutes or however long until you hit play to open that next section. Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you found that reflection time to be valuable. As you know, this is your time. So you can go back and you can edit that, you can refine it, you can spend more time on it on a couple of different days. One of the things I've found really valuable as I've done this workshop a few times in my community this year is I've just been going back and continuing to refine and reflect even more deeply. So taking time on a few different days in shorter bursts may be really valuable for you, something to think about. So now we're going to spend about 15 minutes reflecting on who you are as a reader in 2025. So who are you currently? And I've got a few prompts for you to think about. I'm going to talk you through a couple of these. First of all, I want you to really look back at that reflection that you did and kind of summarize it, condense it down into the essence of it. You might give it a name or a title, or you might choose a few words that describe the vibe of your reading life. And maybe that's a phrase, but maybe it is also a few different adjectives. I find the example here on the sheet of curious but distracted is my lifelong reading motto. I love to read for curiosity, but I often get distracted. The next thing I want you to do is to think about the roles that reading plays in your life. I hope that it plays a role of joy or playfulness or whimsy or whatever, or maybe all of those in different measure. It might also play a role in your professional development. It might play a role in your work life more broadly. It might play a role in skill building for something else. It might play a role for school. Whatever those roles are, I want you to really think about them and just for a minute, sort of divide them up into their different purposes and list them in the table that you see here on the screen. And then I want you to give each one a rating. 1 means that it rarely came up, and 5 means it came up as much as possible. And the value of doing this activity is not that we're trying to get everything to a 5. That is not the role here. It's to show, like, where might there be gaps that you want to try to close up a little bit, or where are there places to go, I don't need to do as much reading in that area anymore. I know I'm an academic, and so when I finished my formal education and realized that I didn't have to keep going to school to get credentials, which I fight about all the time with myself, is that my reading life could still play this dynamic learning role in my life. I just had to refocus myself a little bit. So that's the point of an activity like this. And then you're going to continue on to page 4 in your workbook and just look at these 3 questions. Thinking about the story of you as a reader and what you needed this past year. Remember, we're not shitting on ourselves. We're not judging ourselves negatively. We're saying, hey, this is how reading served me this year. And then I want you to spend a little bit of time looking at what you want to leave behind in 2025 and thinking about what you want to take forward into 2026. So I'm going to meet you back here in about 15 minutes. You can listen to the music here on YouTube, or again, you can check out that great playlist that is in the description below. See you in a few minutes, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that reflective time. And now we're going to start to look forward. Doesn't mean we're not still going to reflect on the past, but we're going to intentionally begin to think about what we want our reading life in 2026 to be. I think that a well-designed life and a well-planned life ends in a well-lived life. And so I like to just sketch some rough plans. Plans always change. It's the nature of planning, but it gives me some guardrails that I want to try to wrap around my reading life, if that makes sense to you. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes again thinking about how we want our reading life to feel in 2026. I want you to get a little creative and have a little fun and think about what you want maybe your motto for your reading life to be in 2026, or maybe what name you would give to your readerly self in 2026, and spend a little bit of time with that. And then to think about some of the choices that you want to make. And I'm going to talk through a couple of these. One is around book formats. A lot of people do a lot of sort of inherent shitting on themselves by like, well, I should sit down and read more paper books. That would be great if we all had the space and the ability and the time and the energy to do that. That would be great. For me, nowadays, because I always need my glasses, I also need the print to be a little bit bigger. So I default to electronic books. I default to audiobooks all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. It also matters what you intend for the reading experience. So, for instance, if I am reading a nonfiction book that I really need to learn from to apply into something, then I'm probably going to be sitting down with that book, often in an electronic format, though, still taking some notes, doing those sorts of things. But I also might find that it's good for me to listen to that book in audio, like while I'm walking or something, and then come back and take notes. So you can listen to and read books in any format. There are no judgments here. And that's what the book formats and then the bookish rules is about. And I want you to think about the bookish rules you might adopt, like there are no rules, all reading is good reading, or maybe it's that you're going to give up a rule. Maybe you have always said, well, I'm going to read before bed and it has to be a paper book. And you find that either because the paper book sitting next to you is not one that you're really interested in that night, or you find that because it's too dark or you're too tired, that doesn't work for you. And you might be served by listening to an audiobook as you drift off to sleep. So I want you to think about those rules that you've put in place or those rules you need to put in place that might help you to improve your reading life in 2026. So again, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. Just remember, you can take as much time as you need, and I will see you back here for the next section. everybody. Welcome back again. I hope you found that time valuable. As we start to wrap up today's session, I want you to spend some time setting some intentions for your reading life for 2026. Now, you know you better than anybody else can. So if these need to be in the form of habits or goals or something that you're going to track carefully every day or whatever that is, perfect. That is wonderful. If that's what you need in order to be effective, then please think about that. But if you're more like me and you start to rebel against tight boundaries and guidelines, then you might want to think of these as aims or intentions. So while I use the word intentions because it's what works for me, you use whatever fits you as well. I've got a few questions here on the screen, or more prompts really, to guide you through thinking about what do you want your reading life to look like in 2026, culminating with that very last prompt, which is in 2026, I will ... related to your reading life. I've also provided on the next page, page 7 in your handout, a little mini reading life plan. Now, I would couch this as completely optional. If you want to do this, it's great. If you don't, that's okay as well. But I really had some fun this year, and I'm going to keep having fun because I'm not quite done with it yet. Figuring out like, hey, what's coming out from authors that I love in the present year or in the new year that I want to try to incorporate into my reading life, and really formalizing those goals or aims or habits for my reading life, and thinking for a little bit about why they're important to me. So this was a late ad. You can tell it's not formatted quite in the same way, but I think it's still important, and you'll see it come up again in that little surprise that I hinted at in the beginning of the workshop. So I'm going to give you another about 15 minutes to reflect on this, and then I'll see you back here to wrap up. everybody. So, congratulations for taking this hour plus to spend some time just reflecting and taking some time and making some space for yourself. That is awesome. I'm so proud of you. I hope it was helpful. And I hope that you will join me in 2026 as I work to control all the algorithms that are in place to control us, and I read more books, things that I can direct and things that I can control. I hope that you will check out my space on Circle and my newsletter. I will put links in the description below so that you can find those if you want to connect with me and get more reading goodness there.